Chapter 6. First, there was a lack of senses, a lack of sight or touch or smell or sound or the numerous other things a human could physically feel. Only black, and a muted silence greeted her. And then the world came rushing back. She tasted old snow in her mouth, cold searing into her skin, and a ghostly ringing, as if the source of the noise came from just behind her ears. She forced her eyes open. She was on her stomach, snow piled up around her. Beyond the snow was a smoking wreck of a door, half-melted metal still sliding down the frame. On the ground was the Roglep dust. But what was the darker red? Cabron! Nadia struggled to rise, hearing a thump as something slid off her. She saw an arm fall. It can't be. No. Cabron! She knelt at his side, prying his chin off the ground. Scrapes riddled his body with bloody cuts, both visible and hidden, soaking through his clothes. A particularly large gash stretched across the side of his face. "Hey, wake up! Wake up!" He didn't move. She tried to wipe at his cuts, but they kept flowing, kept staining the snow around them. Her hands were stained so horribly red. "Xian! Xian!" Her voice echoed down and down and down the corridor. The only noises that greeted Nadia were her heavy breathing and the slide of Cabron's feet behind her. She huffed, trying to pull him up, but he slid back down against the cold stone floor, still unconscious. "Come on, wake up!" Just as before, her demands meant nothing. Quietly, she turned to pleading. "Please, please wake up!" Her begging did not echo. Nadia sat down, watching the weak breathing of her servant. "Please, Cabron, wake up!" There were feet against stone. Nadia rose as the noise approached. She had no idea how long she'd been there, waiting for aid that she was unsure would arrive. The hallways were timeless. "Xian!" As the heavy gate slowed and the figure approached, Nadia saw it was Baston. Baston kneeled, turning Cabron over and placing 2 fingers against his neck. Nadia imagined the lively pulsing she'd felt during the ritual, though she knew Cabron's heartbeat was now much more slow and faint. "What happened?" We got locked out on the roof, and I tried to open the door with magic, but it went wrong and began to hiss and—" Baston held up a hand, silencing the words that threatened to tumble out. "He's bleeding a lot. When did he pass out?" I don't know. After the door blew up, I blacked out, and he was unconscious when I came to." Baston lifted Cabron into his arms, one large hand keeping Cabron's head propped up. Cabron's long hair hung limply, a sheet of tarnished gold. "Will he be okay?" Xian turned, leaving her familiar to clean Cabron and dress his wounds. "It's too soon to say. He'll survive, but I don't know the extent of his injuries yet. He may have suffered brain damage." Though she now knew he would survive, Nadia felt a little strain leave her. Cabron is on death's door. For me. This is expected for a familiar, but I never expected it to happen. I never expected him to be loyal. I never expected him to sacrifice himself for me. She sank into a chair. The infirmary was surprisingly comfy. Well lit, lots of soft chairs and beds, and quiet, though this was a more cozy quiet than the silence of the snowy expanses outside. There was even an enchanted fireplace in the corner, a special type that needed no true chimney to get rid of its smoke. The gas was instead funneled through a dimensional rip, while the fire's ash was collected into an easily accessible compartment. I suppose that's how they collect the wood ash for various spells. They must have quite a supply, with only one mage on the premises. "Here, take this once a day until your wounds fully close." Nadia accepted the bottle of pills from Xian, listening to them rattle faintly. "Why don't you go get some food? Maybe rest. We'll take care of your familiar." "All right." Do you know where they have the storerooms, by chance? For spell components. The stocks in my study are rather low. I think there's one in the basement. I sometimes send Toofty down to get them. Make sure not to carry too much at once. I can send Toofty with you if you need. Nadia glanced at the quiet girl. No, it's fine. I should rest up anyway. It's just good to know where everything is. She gave a quick goodbye to Xian, but paused at the doorway. Her eyes fell on Cabron's still form. She swallowed hard and left. Nadia watched her clothes circle about in the lava vestim, hopefully draining it of those foul-smelling stains, a mixture of blood, ash, and who knew what else. She leaned against the wall, picking at an already scabbing wound on her hand. There was the sound of heavy footsteps and some sort of metal clanking against something. A figure rounded the corner, leaning against the doorframe. He shoveled a spoonful of cereal and milk into his mouth, loudly chewing as he watched her. "Oh, hello, William." He looked down the bridge of his sharp nose at her. He loudly ate another spoonful of cereal, slurping in a way that grated on Nadia's ears. She winced a little, and imagined she saw the faintest rise of William's eyebrow. "It's an odd hour to be eating cereal, especially outside of the dining hall." William nodded in a way that made Nadia doubt he really agreed with her. "Yeah, sure is." He ate more cereal. "Are you here to do laundry?" He shook his head, eyes following his spoon as he ate more cereal. No. "All right." He slurped more cereal, speaking between bites. I'm here to I'm here to ask if I can get the familiar's body when he dies." Nadia crossed her arms. "No! And I don't expect he'll be dying any time soon, given his species' lifespan and their resilience." William licked his spoon. "Sucks." Nadia searched her thoughts. "Why would you even need a familiar's body? I was under the impression that you studied birds, and he's certainly not an avian species." William propped his feet up against the other side of the doorframe, as if trying to sit between the two walls. He was successful, probably due to his long limbs, though to Nadia he seemed to be struggling. He slipped a bit down the wall. He waved his spoon through the air. Why not ask?" "You're an odd individual, William." "And so are you." He put both feet back on the floor and began to leave. "Where are you off to?" He tipped his bowl over, revealing ceramic licked dry. "More cereal. Bye." Nadia quirked an eyebrow as he disappeared into the void of the hallway. She still couldn't quite understand William, what he was about. The resident oddball. Well, damn him. I don't need a bother. As the lava vestim lowered a few minutes later, Nadia could again hear footsteps coming down the hall. She whirled about, expecting to see William back again, ready to give her another round of wildly meaningless questions and statements. Instead, a small head poked into the room, little wings fluttering as she was spotted. "Oh, hello, Sir Nadia. I was sent by my mistress in case you needed any help." Nadia internally twitched at "Sir," an unwelcome reminder of her family's status, and a much more informal greeting than Miss O'Lear. She watched as Toofty fully entered the room, small and demure, head bowed. At least she had some manners. "I am fine, thank you very much. You can go back to Xian now." Toofty shrunk back. "Do you have any lasting pain, Sir Nadia? Please, if I may?" She gestured at Nadia's scab. Nadia rolled her eyes, but sighed. She lazily lifted her hand, allowing the familiar to come forward and examine her. Toofty gently rubbed at the skin, and Nadia winced a little. Toofty glanced up, though not daring to meet her gaze. "My mistress forgot to apply healing salve to this arm." Toofty dug into a satchel swinging from her shoulder, bringing out a small jar of white cream. She worked the cream into Nadia's hand, and Nadia let out a sigh of relief as coolness washed over her. Toomfti closed the jar and stowed it away, watching Nadia's reactions. "Is that better, Sir Nadia?" "Yes, very much so. Send my thanks to your mistress." Toomfti nodded. "Of course, Sir Nadia." Nadia glanced over Toomfti. She'd never taken the time to really look her over before. Usually her eyes glazed over familiars, instead opting to look at whatever was more important around her. The grayness in her hair seemed less natural, more sickly, now that Nadia was noticing how frail Toomfti was, the dark circles under her eyes. For some reason, it worried Nadia much more now compared to when she'd first been introduced to Toomfti at the beginning of her stay at the observatory. Toomfti glanced around. "Is there anything else I may do for you?" Nadia blinked, realizing she'd been standing still for a while, lost in her thoughts. "No, that is all. You may go now." Toomfti bowed deeply before leaving, Nadia watching her go. Nadia waited a long moment, staring at where she'd been. She didn't know why she was so stiff, why she was so upset, why she couldn't shake Cabron's image from her head. She pushed her hair back and began pulling out her laundry, setting herself to work.